Thank you all for coming. And I am very, very thrilled to introduce one of my dearest friends, Sharron Rose, to you all today. Is a force of nature. She is a constant creator. This is not just co-creating. She cannot stop creating because she sees the beauty and the dynamic of everything and then wants to express it. And today we're going to get to talk about, because we're talking about unity, her talk is going to be about quantum chi, which will show you hopefully at least one or two trailers for her project. But it's quantum chi, exploring the nurturing, healing, and ultimately unifying nature of life force energy. Welcome, Sharron.
Oh, Kathy, as always, it's such a pleasure to be with you. And I couldn't have created a better intro into this segment than having my beloved Jean. You know, I practically lived in her house for a year in the 90s, working with her husband, Bob, and learning the psychophysical method of neurosensory reeducation, a big mouthful.
Yeah.
And during that period is when I really was focusing on healing, studying craniosacral and working with Bob and Jean to some extent, understanding the subtleties of the physical body and the energy fields.
Perfect, perfect. Well, so Sharron, let's see, where should we start? First of all, so people know a little bit about Sharron. She is a Fulbright scholar and right out of college went to India, which many years ago, that was pretty adventurous for a single woman to go to India to study ancient dance. And do you want to start there and
Sure,
explain?
sure. Um, so I was born into, my mother was a tap dancer. My mother went to college at 14 years old. So, so the feminine and the influence, the nurturing quality of the feminine, this mother dragging me after school every day, you know, 3-4 days a week to dance classes, theater classes, singing classes. She wanted me to go to Broadway. But I ended up after ballet and all these things in New York, modern dance, I ended up discovering North Indian classical dance called Kathak. And when I first found it, I first let it into my body, it felt like I had come home. Also, I had been in New York City, and this is very important these days to talk about. So this was in the mid 70s, I went to New York. And at that time, there were influences. There were Afro-Cuban dance, West African dance, flamenco, Indian, all of these things. And it was so exciting as a dancer who really loved rhythm and music and culture and story to discover, to be immersed in this world, these world rhythms, these world feelings, dancing with, I had a partner, Patrick Lacroix from Haiti, and just to feel those rhythms, to ride on the energy of the person you're dancing with, to feel that you're expanding your understanding of culture and music and dance and movement. You feel like you're African. Right now, I have an African dance teacher who is Satya. She's blonde and blue-eyed, and really, she dances with the joy and beauty and grace of a West African. So, yesterday I spent 6 hours bringing bringing all dancers from all around the world. It was so lovely for World Unity Week for the dance floor, and you can all see that. I recorded it, and it'll be available. And so, I started my life, and for many years that was it. Then I got involved with, I found this Indian classical dance. It was all very miraculous. My first teacher gave me a book. I opened it up. I said, "Who's this woman? She's gorgeous." She said, "This is the only person in India I would let you study with." Immediately, an Indian famous musician showed up. I was in Cambridge. I met him. He knew her. And the next thing I knew, I was living with her in India.
Oh my Lord.
And not only that, it was amazing because about 3 months before I left, I had this dream in which I left my body and I was like a point of light in the sky. And there was another point of light that kind of said to me telepathically, well, what do you, here you are, where do you want to go? I said, I want to meet Sitara. That was Sitara Devi's, my Guruji. And so the next thing I know, I'm swishing through a tunnel of light and I'm in this room, this bedroom, and I see this woman and she gives me this like, look, right? And then I got kind of nervous and I came back in my body. Well, like a month later, I was in that room.
Wow.
So we had a connection, and still, even though she's she passed, that's incredible. And when I wrote my grant, my first one, I was looking for a more ancient model of this bringing together of different cultures and different expressions. And that was found in North Indian dance. So it was so exciting. Since she had been an early Bollywood star, she was a tantrika. I lived with her and she gave away the rest of her students and I learned one-to-one. So
Wow.
very few women have had this kind of experience, and it completely altered my life. I became, in fact, I was talking about this yesterday. I got there, I had been a modern dancer, right? I had done, of course, some Indian dance, but she said, you can't look and dress like this if you're going to be a goddess. So she gave away all my clothes, and it was only allowed to dress in saris, right? Which have it's graceful, it's so beautiful. So from there, I came back and I had a dance partner from Lebanon. We danced in thousands of schools on the East Coast, bringing 12 or more cultures in 45 minutes, bringing the kids up and dressing them up in African clothes and Hawaiian clothes. And it was just an amazing experience, because if you can imagine, New York has, I don't know, every culture in the world practically. And so we were able to introduce these kids, actually all the way from kindergarten through college, to the beauty and the power and the rhythms and of so many different cultures, and really affect change in these kids. And the way, some kids, let's see, we had a little girl in fourth grade, Hawaii, and she was, kind of chub, and she was ostracized. Also, her mother was gay and she was ostracized for that. And so I just really felt for her. And so I started by saying to the whole class, I said, well, I said, here, come over here. I said, in Hawaii, the way she looks is what is considered beautiful. Look how beautiful she is, right?
Oh,
and she really took to the Hawaiian dance. She was the star of her grade, and it shifted. And I've always felt that the arts, and of course filmmaking, which I've been very involved in since '78, actually, have the potential to bring people into a completely different experience of life.
exactly.
My focus in all the work has been the beauty, the power of embodiment.
Yes.
And of course, Jean and I met on that level, and healing. So I feel that, so many, right now especially, there's so much confusion out there. There's so many forces. It seems like I like to use the metaphor of the lotus flower, because that's the other thing. I've studied symbols, mudras, gesture, postures, and all of that in cultures throughout the world. And so the lotus flower, what is that symbol? It grows in the muck. And it feels like right now we are really stirring up the muck.
Right.
We talk a lot. My husband is an authority in Western alchemy. We talk a lot about this alchemical transmutation of, out of this muck, and it just stirs and stirs. There comes this diamond. And so, even though, believe me, I like you, Kathy, and many people out there, I'm extremely sensitive and empathic. And in these days, you know, it feels like these waves of energy come through you, and you feel the suffering and confusion of humanity right now,
Right.
really, really strongly. So yet that to me is just part of this transformation, this transmutation. And that's why I'm so honored to be a part of this World Unity Week.
Perfect. Yes, it's perfect. So you glossed over about your filmmaking, and I want everyone to know that Sharron and her husband Jay Wagner have a company called Sacred Mysteries, and I think there's 23 films. I have most of them, and I actually helped a little bit with the last one, the last Avatar. But I want everyone to know that Sharron also, there's two things. One thing was that they did a film on 2012, back, was that 2008? Or
Well, we began it in 2006.
Yeah.
And back to Sacred Mysteries, you know, we started in 2000 with, we did these, what I'd call portrait documentaries,
Right.
with the great visionary artist, Alex Gray,
Right.
with Alberto Violdo, the great shaman healer, you know, with, let's see, Jay did one on Secrets of Alchemy. I did one for women called Yoga of Light.
Right.
And we were really focused on bringing forth the knowledge of what some people would call the light body. I consider, you know, the mapping of the unseen, well, by people with open third eyes and psychic abilities see these, but the mapping of consciousness as it flows through the quantum from the physical out into the universe.
Right.
And we started there. That was our focus. And what did we have? We used Alex Gray's beautiful paintings to show it. And now we go way forward to where working on quantum chi, for which I have interviewed about 30 of the leading Qigong and Tai Chi masters. And now the animation has gotten to the point where we actually can show, if any of you know the work of Barbara Brennan, she's a real pioneer in this kind of work. Like, we can show a person who's angry and then you see the field, because for me right now, as a filmmaker and an artist and a woman, I feel that we talk so much about climate change, outer climate, the outer climate, but what about the inner climate?
Exactly.
What, you know, we need to be, and I think that's the beauty of this time we're in right now, where we're locked down, because it's giving us the time to really feel and understand our emotional bodies and work with them and let the shadows that we all have rise up to be healed, to be, you know, transmuted into light.
Perfect. Perfect. So I wanted to still explain the reason why I brought up 2012 is there was 2012 and 2013, and no one else was talking about those time frames. And around that same time, you wrote a book on the divine feminine, and no one was talking about that. You were way ahead of everything. The 2012 and 2013 videos are compilation videos of Sharron going to Peru and talking to people, but also getting information from experts. And I still watch them. I really, really like them. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because right now we are in that type of transformational change. It's not the same date, but it's certainly very similar.
Well, the first one, 2012, The Odyssey, which showed in, like, I don't know, 350 Unity churches. I love you, Unity churches, and spiritual centers around the world, Center for Spiritual Living. I went around the country, the US, interviewing some of the leading, like Jose Arguelles and John Major Jenkins, and of course Alberto Villoldo, and that's when I met the Quero
Uh-huh.
shamans, William Henry, these people. And then we did a sequel. And the sequel, we went to Peru. And the through line of the sequel, I'm sitting in a despacho ceremony
Right.
with the Quero. And even in that one, I interviewed Jean.
Right.
So, yes, and she was talking about jump time. And we were discussing so many of the issues that are at the forefront right now.
Exactly.
Really. And when I look at that now, it's like, well, because in 2012 and 2013, it like kind of didn't happen what we expected.
Right.
And it's like, but wait a minute, it's now. It's now. Yes, Greg Braden was in there too.
Yeah.
And he was speaking about prayer, the power of prayer. And always talking about this possibility, as Jean talks about,
Right.
our human potential to
Right.
be so much more than who we are, and this movement into quantum consciousness.
Right. Well, the idea of the fact that you see things before they happen is what I wanted to allude to, because you always seem to be way ahead and visionary. And that's what I see the quantum chi work is. Quantum chi is, and when we first started talking about this years ago, we were talking about how in your vision, you wanted Qigong to be used as much as yoga, that yoga was an unknown. And then all of a sudden, now it's everywhere. And that Qigong, for as far as a way to maintain health and vitality, should be, should be
Yes,
everywhere.
yes. Well, when I first, and this was another like magical synchronistic thing where I started working on a documentary because we had done The Last Avatar. Jay and I did our only feature narrative film.
Yeah.
And Neil Donald Walsh, our favorite, we love him, played the Count Saint Germain.
Yes.
And he introduces the concept of the light body
Right.
and the potentials in that feature film. But I felt, because I have been a student of Dzogchen and Tibetan Buddhism and Hindu and many cultures, looking at this concept of the light body and doing the practices myself, I felt that this was, The Last Avatar was sort of an intro, and that I wanted to go deeper. And so I wanted to interview Mantak Chia, who's one of the most well-known Qigong masters, because he talks about growing the light body. So I was, by my publisher, Ehud Sperling of Inner Traditions, I was introduced, we have the same publisher, I was introduced to him. And I went to an event. It was a big, I didn't even know. I went to Massachusetts, Lenox, to Eastover Estate, and the owner said to me, well, you're here to interview him, but I have 12 masters here, Qigong and Tai Chi and acupuncturists. So you're here, just interview them. And being in all of my dance, there's a very solid foundation of technique, but that is only, and music too, and that's only to give you this vocabulary through which the spirit flows through you and you transform into Durga, and you have all these tools at your fingertips that you can express what's coming through you. So I thought, oh, okay, here it is. This is the opportunity. And so I interviewed like 12 people, and it was all in nature, because I had decided that since nature is such an important aspect of Qigong, that everything should be filmed, which is not easy, believe me, to film in nature. The sun's moving, it might rain, who knows. But so I did that interview with Mantak Chia, and he actually was teaching me one of the deep alchemical teachings of Qigong, which is how to work with your emotions and your organs. So this is called a practice called the 6 healing sounds. Okay. So we'll take, for example, the lungs. So what do the lungs hold, according to Chinese medicine? Grief, sadness, some frustration, and And so then this is a practice that helps, and it's very simple, using sound, using visualization to help you transmute that sadness into courage. That's a very interesting one, into courage. You know, because so many of us, when we're just feeling, especially I feel women in particular, you know, because we hold that nurturing quality within us, you know, we have that sadness, and and still even we're allowed to cry.
Right,
Like
right.
for men, that might be changing a bit, but and so and in this, what happens is that you do this transmutation, and what's really beautiful about it is that while you're doing the exercise, you're looking right and left into your lungs, and you're seeing before you any situation or that causes you grief, or any person who is causing you grief, and you are essentially deleting it from your consciousness. But not only from your emotional body,
Mhm.
you're deleting it then again from your mental body, from your thoughts. You're like cutting the cord that keeps that winding, that constant winding of habitual thought patterns going, right? You're freeing it and releasing it. And then it's amazing practice, and it works with the different organs, and they each have you know, a negative, we might call it negative energy, and then the transmutative part. And of course, the emperor, the heart, you know, is the center. Well, it's one of the three major Dantian's energy centers, and the heart is the doorway through which all of this comes forth.
Let me mute this person. Thank you. Yes. Well, I want to, before we go totally to the Qigong subject, I wanted to let everyone know about the activations that are embedded, especially in the last avatar, where there was an intention to activate the light body. Do you want to speak to that before we go further in the Qigong?
Mm. Well, that has been my pursuit, my study uh, through the arts, through filmmaking, you know, and then into all these healing and spiritual traditions around the world. So, I mean, for example, that's why I love animation so much. When Neil, as the Comte de Saint-Germain, as Neil is transmitting this,
Yes.
he opens his arms, and you actually see his light body. You see the chi, the shakti, the prana, the life force energy flowing through his body. And then he also transmits it to the main character, who's this kind of young, goofy guy who discovers that he's an avatar. It's a very culty film. All the films, well, not Quantum Chi, because we're still working on it, but all of our other films, or many of them, are on Gaia.com.
Right. Well, the reason I wanted to bring that up is that I helped you when we showed that in Boulder. We had 2 showings, and people were activated. You could see that they thought they were just coming to have an entertainment experience, but they actually left activated. So the intent, it's beautifully done. It's you know, I just wanted to make sure people knew that this has more than a surface value. is all I was trying to share.
Well, it's interesting you should say it, because with all of our films, people have said through the years, from I think the first one came out about 2003, people always say that they want to watch them over and over again because we have so much embedded. Jay and I are a really amazing team. And there's so many layers and levels of symbol, of myth, of color, of movement, of all kinds of things embedded in, and quantum chi, whoa, it's very, very
we'll
strong.
go to that. I just wanted to make sure people knew. I know of your older films, I do want to put a plug in for Infinity. I love that movie, and it is on Gaia. It's a compilation movie about death, how we are infinite beings. And I mean, it sounds strange. I probably watch it once a month. I love, there's so much in it. There's so much in it that in a lot of ways um, it's a hopeful viewpoint of how to live and how people have lived through hardship,
Well, I
right?
feel that film is an alchemical, has the potential. It's an alchemical medium. Not only are you're hearing the dialogue, the story, the teachings, but you've got the sound,
This-
right? You've got the beauty of the visuals. There's so much that can be done with film. And that's why I like it. I mean, as I said, I started in '78. I mean, mostly until I met Jay, I was doing world dance and music and some music videos in New York and stuff like that. But I love, I love the medium.
Yes, and you're really amazing at it. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't just gloss over your history of 22 or 23 movies, because it actually shows in the quality of what we're going to show next. Perfect.
Qi is the foundation of many healing arts. Qi is the foundation of many traditions in China. Life is from energy. Life is from qi. How about qi? Where does the qi come from? From love. From love of the universe.
What does qi feel like? A buzz, tingling. You're so excited, full of energy that you want to be playful all the time.
When the qi flowing, you can feel like warm, expand, some tingling. Because qi, when you move, it also have a power to heal.
When you're doing qigong, what you're doing is cultivating life force within your body. You become a conduit for information, for new information to come into the body. And you connect to the qi of the earth and the sky. You're simply a conduit.
In Taoist practice, you're harnessing this light, this energy, this qi. And so when we cultivate that energy from within, that compassion, that joy, that love, we can shift our state, shift that emotional state into something that's elevated and not constricted.
Learn to shift from externally focused, searching for happiness, searching for meaning of life. You go inwardly, recognizing you have more access to life inside of you.
It's a discipline, a healing art, a way of training the body and mind, a meditation in motion, a medication in motion, a way of conditioning the body for martial arts, for sports, improving strength, stamina, balance, and coordination. Yoga practitioners and teachers love Qigong. The Qi focus turns their attention to a much more awakened internal sensory awareness.
There's a sense of resting in a very natural, open, spacious, clear, luminous energy, which then carries you spontaneously and creatively through the movements and the flow.
Therein lies the ability of practicing Qigong to build up incredible force in the body for rejuvenation, longevity, self-healing, and healing others.
Qigong for everyone.
Qi is love.
Qi is light.
Qi is a free. Qi is energy.
Let's show the
second
trailer
one?
for episode 2.
Okay, I'll cue it up right now. Thank you all for your
Episode 2, The Way in the Warrior, from subtle arts to martial arts.
Martial art include all the combative arts like karate, judo, Chinese kung fu or Chinese boxing. It's a combative form of fighting, the art of expressing the human body.
Kung Fu, it means time and effort together is Kung Fu. The muscle power, the right position, the right spirit. More than that is the internal qi, like a battery.
The beauty of these qi cultivation practices is that you can enter in anywhere. The qi in QiGong is obvious because it says qi work. With Tai Chi and Kung Fu, it's still qi work, it's just called something else.
QiGong, qi skill, is the energetic core of Tai Chi Chuan and Wushu. The skill of delivering power in a punch is not that different from what is required to move qi within the body for self-healing.
When you exhaust your qi from doing fast physical activity, as one might in martial arts, you need the QiGong to bring everything down, to settle the energy, to come back into repair mode.
So through practice, you feel in your heart and your whole body full of love, full of qi. All of the history of the martial arts, it came out of the need to protect oneself, to protect your property, your family from being abused by someone else who was overpowering your forces.
If it's a threat of someone harming you, the best thing is to try to avoid it. But if your life is at threat, you need to know how to save your life. There is a physical protection, there's a mental protection, and there's a spiritual protection.
Most of us in modern life don't have aggressors attacking us. Most of our martial battles are emotional, are against stress, finances, money, our own internal voices in our heads. So how do we stay protected against those attacks?
The best way to protect yourself in a martial situation is to have mastered relaxation and presence. Then it's very difficult for somebody to harm you.
To be a quantum warrior or warrior of the Tao, we have to be brave enough to enter into unknown parts of ourselves and to bring forth the places of power and the places of shadows that we can transform into light.
The essence of martial arts is not to be aggressive. It is to be secure in yourself so you don't have to accept the challenges of others.
Martial arts, Tai Chi, Qigong. When you start dealing with energy, you want to know, oh, can I hurt somebody? When you expand and grow and love, can I help somebody? Can I heal somebody?
So I'm getting texts also from Facebook for someone that's helping me on Facebook. And you've gotten all these accolades, just beautiful, love it. Beautiful spirit movement. So, and I'm sure there's some texts here too as well. So Sharron, those were two of the trailers for two of the episodes. And originally when you first became inspired this project has been a labor of love, and I've watched you and tried to support you any way I could during all of this. Could you talk a little bit about what you plan to do with these episodes?
Well, I'd like to go back to the motivation for
Okay.
even doing it in the first place. You know, as I look around me, I see so much pain. My teacher in the Buddhist tradition, Tenzin Wangyal, talks about pain body, pain speech, and pain mind. And it's so unnecessary. You know, it's really being stirred up right now. And I'm someone I started studying yoga in the late 60s, actually. And I found it to be extraordinary in terms of alignment and flexibility and fluidity. And in India, I learned, you know, the deeper aspects, but generally in its transition into the West, the deep healing qualities of it were not transmitted. In fact, it became very commercial and like yoga for abs. But with Qigong, what I found was it went so much deeper. And the other thing about it is that it's for any age and anyone. You could be 95 years old and bedridden, and you could be doing Qigong.
Right.
And
Right.
it would help you. And the self-empowering aspect of it, and the ability to work with this life force energy to first heal yourself.
Mhm.
And then from that very centered, grounded, because that's a really amazing, you know, aspect of Qigong and Tai Chi and martial arts practice, this like ability to just ground you. And from that grounded place is where you fly. Right? And also to center you. You know, John Milton, who is a dear friend,
Yes.
who is in the film, he talks a lot about inner nature, outer nature, and true nature. And I think that's a great concept for what we're going through right now, to go find that true nature. But the things about Qigong, it's so many levels, not only this flow and grace that comes about with the physical body, and then just, you know, taking you just start by rubbing your hands together and kind of pulling, there's the Qi. There's the Qi. You bring it from the earth, you bring it from the heavens, and you bring it into your heart through your hands, and you can transmit. And so it's this ancient, amazing model that is completely connected, of course, to traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, herbs, etc.
Sharon, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we only have a few minutes more.
Oh, okay.
So I want to, and but I could obviously I do talk to you all the time, but so we could go on and on. But I do want to make sure that people know how that they can get in touch with you if they want to keep in touch with this project or even get involved with you on the project.
Yes. Well, let me quickly.
Best way?
Yeah, quickly. I have finished 2 episodes. We are out there bringing it. Actually, right now, there's someone bringing it to the online con festival. What we're looking for is funding to continue. We're looking for a production company that I can work with so that I don't have to wear 10 hats myself.
Right.
And I just feel it has so much potential. I consider it the next yoga, and actually in some ways beyond. And as we said, many yoga practitioners, Feldenkrais healers are bringing it into their lives now. And to get in touch with me, quantumqimovie.com. So that's QUANTUMQI movie.com, or quantumqimovie@gmail. Then you can get directly to us. There's a wonderful Quantum Qi group, Quantum Qi Facebook group, Quantum Qi Life Force Energy, and there's a Facebook page, Quantum Qi.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry we have to stop now. Again, we'll have to do this again, of course.
We will. Thank you so much, Kathy, and all of you.
Thank you so much for what you're doing. It's really going to make the world a better place. Thank you.
That's my prayer.